I take more cabs now because of Hailo and sometimes Uber than I
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'd like to ask you a question actually, because the rise of apps like that, and Hailo is probably my favourite app as far as being useful and me being lazy. You made statements that say that the next revolution will not be technological, it will be psychological. Yet apps like Uber and Hailo, and there are others, surely that's a technological...
Well, no. In a sense, the technology was pre-existing for 5 years before Hailo existed. Okay? Probably there were other factors. Two things. One, not enough black cab drivers had smartphones in the early days, so that the second part of the thing might not work. The second thing might have been... second problem might have been that the threat of Addison Lee was partly what galvanised London cabbies into accepting it. Thirdly, Hailo was actually created partly by 3 cab drivers, which meant the degree of acceptance and their degree of the understanding of the details of being a cabbie were, you know, they were just much better at that than anybody else could be. There's probably a fourth factor which possibly people didn't realise, which is that a relatively small number of people take a remarkably high number of all cabs. So that actually, you know, if you can create a habit among that small group of heavy cab users, you've won a surprising amount of business with a surprisingly small number of people. But the actual technology existed. I think what we didn't understand well enough is that psychological thing of why we hate ringing for taxis is the uncertainty. That you ring for one and then you go, well, where is he? Why hasn't he arrived? Maybe he's got the wrong address. Let's go and stand out in the rain to check he isn't there. Whereas in Hailo, you just pop your phone on the pub table and you go. So you go, actually, Addison Lee has a perfectly good app that does the same thing as well. So there's also Get Taxi, Uber is of course another one. But what you then do is you watch on the map as the thing approaches. Now that's a completely different emotional thing. You go, oh look, he's stuck at those traffic lights. Oh, well, I'll go and get myself another pint. But the fact that actually what we really hate is being in a state of uncertainty is a psychological insight. Now, it's a hugely important insight for technologists because technology can now solve this problem. Dot matrix display boards on the tube. I would argue, I mean, Amazon's doing some interesting work. I've got a little cottage in, a little flat in Deal in Kent. And what's quite good is if you order an Amazon parcel there, you can actually watch the parcel approaching. And it will say, Bobby, who's the guy who does the Amazon DPD deliveries in Deal, right? It will say, Bobby is now, you are delivery number, 27 of 64. Bobby is now making delivery number 23. So you nip out of the cafe, go back to your house. I actually did this. 10 seconds before I got back to the house, Bobby turns up, sign for parcel, sling it through the door. Actually, funnily enough, what I had to do, I actually did this. 10 seconds before I got back to the house, Bobby turns up, sign for parcel, sling it through the door. Actually, funnily enough, what I had to do was I had to open my own door, because obviously you can't just hand a parcel to someone on the street. I had to just open the door to give evidence that I actually lived there, sign for it, close the door again, and go, now that sort of stuff is really, really interesting. Choice architecture, I mean, one of our discussions is talking to, say, fast food companies and drinks companies about the extraordinary effect that choice architecture... Now, part of that is we like the feeling that comes from the certainty that we've made a good choice. And if the range is messy or the choice is presented in a way that's befuddling, okay, we experience feelings of discomfiture, which we don't experience if choice is designed in a good... I mean, you all know this, Chinese restaurants, you always feel you should have ordered something else, because the menus are too big. I mean, what a lot of people do is they order, apparently, among the Chinese community, the set menu is regarded as the idiot guilo option. This is for the fool who can't make up his mind. But we often order the set menu in a Chinese restaurant just to remove the sheer mental befuddlement that comes from looking at 190 Also, I would argue that the huge list of different dishes in a Chinese restaurant actually causes us to infer that the food quality is worse than it is. Because we go, you can't make all this shit that well. Come on. Are you really saying you've got fresh abalone that you keep just on the 1 in 100 chance that someone actually orders abalone with black bean sauce and whatever it is? The design of choice and how we actually frame it has, I think there's a huge amount of economic value being destroyed by presenting good products in a bad context.